It is Tuesday, the first day of the month June 2021. And as always, every Tuesday, we bring you the Men's Den. My name is Likuyani Eli, coming to you live from Belgium. And I have, of course, my man in the Men's Den, all the way in Nairobi, Kenya. As always, James Mwati. Good evening, James.
Good evening, Eli. How are you?
You don't sound like you had a good Madaraka day. What happened to you?
You know, you've confused me for a minute there when you said it's Tuesday, and in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, is it Tuesday? Is it Sunday? Is it... So I'm in that space. With a holiday in between, it becomes crazy.
You know what? Once you're in the Men's Den, everything will fit into place because I have equally Malcolm Mary Gilbert, all the way in Oklahoma, USA. Good evening, sir, and how are you?
Good evening, Ellie. I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, you seem unsettled. I
hope James is having a good of Madaraka day for him.
Yeah, I must have eaten enough now.
I hope it's free for him. He's not bound by chains again.
Exactly. Gentlemen, you know, we really must go into the subject matter because I'm interested to really find out what we all think about this issue. You know, they say it takes two to tango, but apparently the music tunes have changed in the recent past. And right now, especially when it comes to matters, relationship, and children bearing, things are not as they were. It's not about the two of you. It's about what the two of you decide on. And even more important, when one person says they are not into it, then it's up to you to decide how things work. And that's why tonight we are discussing, we are not pregnant, you are. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can send in your comments in the comment section. And remember to use the hashtag @InHeartRespondingToLife. And let's have this started. James, why would gentlemen be saying akina Jemo and Kevo that hii mimba si yetu ni yako?
Number one, stop putting Jemo in that list. That list is very well articulated.
Okay, but Gilo.
Jemo is nowhere near that list. We need to make things clear. But coming to the topic again, no, Jemo is not in that list. But coming to the topic, Ellie, I don't know why you love getting us into trouble. Because I've been thinking about the topic, and it's a very emotive topic.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. Let me throw a spanner in the works.
Yeah.
It has been argued that it is the woman's role to protect themselves against getting pregnant. That is the traditional thinking. So the question I struggle with, Ellie, is in this day and dispensation, is it the sole responsibility of the woman? Yes, she will carry the pregnancy, but it's not like it dropped from heaven like the one pregnancy that we know dropped from heaven. This was consensus between two adults who knew the repercussions of having sex.
Yeah.
And the chicken have come home to roost. So my biggest question is it the sole responsibility of the woman? Again, with emphasis with today's dispensation. And the reason why I say let me throw a spanner into the works, so that I can let my good friend Gilbert join in. Yeah. What if we argued from the point of the man has an equal chance of preventing, if he does not want a pregnancy, the man has equal chance of going the vasectomy route.
That's a good one you're actually saying. Before I can give my perspective on this, let me just allow Gilbert, if Gilbert you're there. Gilbert, what do you think of this discussion and what James has just tried to put out, that we need to go the other way and be the one to fix our engines? If you can get your mic.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Eli. I don't think we need to do anything of the sort. Huh? It takes two to tango, and my teacher used to ask me a simple question. Nothing flew from the body. It's a process. It started from the concept, imagining, rehearsing, engaging. So it's a whole process. You can't say it was an accident when the results come out. So the two consenting adults have the ability to take care of themselves, not unless it's an accident. In this matter, when you're talking about rape or engaging in sexual activity with a minor, whom in this circumstance we presume they cannot make sober decisions for themselves, but it's for two consenting adults. I always say, one thing that we as primates have over any other animal is power of choice. So if you choose to be in it, be ready to take care of the consequences. Men find their way out when they try to say we don't carry the pregnancy because they don't have evidence. But whose egg is being carried in someone's womb, I would ask.
Good way to start. I will not respond to that. As always, I always ask the questions. All the way on the comment section, keep rolling. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nancy Magan, good evening to you. Miss Jen, happy belated birthday wishes to you, darling. I hope you're doing well. Suleiman Mkopi, karibu sana. And we have Lavender Combs who says, in Kenya today. Okay, take it easy on that, lady. You know, these things happen, right? We have Wycliffe who says, Gotea, my learned friend. So, guys, you better know you're learned tonight because people will be expecting a lot of heavy points from you. Major Kel Mo, karibu sana. Sarah and Jonjo, good evening to you, dear. How are you doing? Again, I have one correspondence here from Miss Jane who says, no, it's not the responsibility of both the child. It's not. It is the responsibility of both. The child didn't ask to be there. You both should have used protection if you are not intending to have a pregnancy in the first place. Great one there. Guess who is there? James must be very happy reading from Yunyo Kabi GK Kamau. And she says, we are pregnant because it takes two to get pregnant. If you are having unprotected sex with someone, it means you are ready to be a father or a mother. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Good topic from Wambomba Hudson, the top star. Thank you so much. A lot of people are arguing that point, guys. What do you want to add on the few points that you've already laid before I open more of my can of worms?
Before you ask the ask.
Yes, before I ask the ask.
I hear what people are saying, which is the ideal. You see, when I'm dealing with topics, I like to look at it from two perspectives: the ideal and the real. The ideal is two consenting adults know that 1 + 1 is equals to 2. We have sex and protected sex, we get pregnant. That is the ideal. But in life, we rarely get the ideal. We need to focus on the real. And the real out there is two consenting adults will engage in sex. One party, or both parties for that matter, will not want a child, but it will happen. That is the reality on the ground. Yeah. So we can sit here and populate the thought that two consenting adults, you need to know all these things. Well, that's ideal. Yeah. But you see, often, especially in the African context, what usually happens is when, it is the woman who gets pregnant. It is the woman who can't run away from the consequences. A man can very easily disappear and there's nothing you will do about it. But a woman can't disappear. She's already carrying the pregnancy. Yeah. So the argument of it is both our responsibility fails to take ground, to hold ground in such a case. Because now it is a negotiation and the man has the upper hand. As unfortunate as it is, the man has the upper hand. Why? Because they're not carrying physically the pregnancy. And that thus leads the question, whose responsibility is it to ensure that if the two do not want a pregnancy, then it does not happen. So that is the elephant in the room. Yeah. Whose responsibility is it? We need to move away from the ideal and come to the unajua vitu kwa ground. We need to come to the what
it's always like that. Vitu kwa ground need different.
And Ellie, we've seen premium tiers. We've seen premium tiers because of this.
Zimelipiwa na insurance.
Exactly. Because, for example, two couples will hook up.
Yeah.
One of them, let's do a hypothesis. The man says, we are not ready yet. No, not we are not ready. I am not ready yet to be a father. So he has stated, I am not ready yet. Now, the problem is some women will not hear this. You understand? They will not hear. And if they've heard, they will pretend they did not hear. And they will go ahead and get pregnant.
Yeah.
And that's where now the complications start. Because the man is like, I was crystal clear. I said, I am not ready. On the other hand, there are some other women who use a pregnancy as a trap. So they think this guy is taking too long to put a ring on it. He doesn't seem to be serious. Maybe if I got pregnant, I would tone him down and he would come. And that is a fatal mistake. Because if the union between the two is based on a con game, for lack of a better word, the basis of this union is a con game, we are likely to experience problems in future. Yeah. Because the man will settle down and marry you, not because he wanted to, but because of the child. So it's not about you, it's about the child. So again, it brings us back to the question, whose responsibility? Again, I introduced the subject of vasectomy. And while it's a family planning method available for men, we have to admit that it is not popular. A very small percentage of men will go ahead and use this method. And while some might argue that it is because it is permanent, because they say I can't tie my tubes permanently, we know that there are other means and methods of preventing pregnancy. Condoms, spermicides. There are creams that you can use to ensure that the sperms do not. But in very, very, very few occasions will men actually use these methods. What am I saying? As a responsible lady, your boyfriend, your husband, your whoever has told you clearly that I am not ready to have a child. Doesn't it fall on you then to ensure, because ultimately you will be the one to carry the pregnancy, doesn't it fall on you to ensure that that does not happen? Why would you pass that responsibility to the man, yet he's not the one who will carry the pregnancy? And here I pass the baton to our good gentleman.
We actually have a guest in studio, but before we come to the guest, Mr. Gilbert, what do you want to say about what Jemo has said? I just called him Jemo. Oh, God. What do you want to say about what James has said, actually?
I somehow agree with what he's trying to say. But as I said, we will not lay responsibility on women. Not at all, at all. We want to play victims here. Yet it takes two. As I said, it's a process. You can't say that you told a woman you're not ready. Who are you? You are not in this thing as a person. You're in this thing as a unit. If you're not ready, you should be saying we are not ready. Not you. Who told you you are the control of everything? When it comes to matters to engaging, is we. If you two are not ready, then take up the action and know what you're supposed to do if the two of you are not ready, because at that point you are acting as a unit which is one in this manner. So we can't lay blame on women. Both men and women are held responsible of their decisions, because at this time, the more they are operating as one. Yeah.
I need to interject with a question.
Yes.
Gil, I hear what you're saying on the union, but my question would be, can two consenting adults have agreed as a union that we want to have sex? As a union, they have that agreement. But they differ in, do we want a child or not? Because the two go hand in hand, yeah? And it would be possible for both of them to want to have sex, but one does not want a child and the other wants. So what do we do? Do we tell them do not engage in sex? Do we tell them use protection? And if it's use protection, who should use the protection? I think this is where the question is.
And that's why protection protects one. It doesn't protect, it protects one against the other. There is no protection that is meant if I'm using, it affects two of us. It just protects you against the other. And that's why we have male and female. They have provided option for everyone. So if you are not ready,
who should use it?
James,
who should use protection? Who should be the one using?
James, I said this is a unit. This is like a cell. We are agreeing to disagree. Yeah, we agree we want to engage, but we don't agree we want the result. The result in this man, I'm talking about a kid. Who is disagreeing? And who is agreeing? I want, I don't want. You know, it's give and take. So if I'm disagreeing, it's not about who should use. Is you two agreeing who will use? Because of course we said you are a unit. So if you use and I don't want to engage.
Well, gentlemen, it's heated right here in the comment section. I know I keep flipping here the questions from Nyokabi. If you want to respond, James, yeah.
Yes, this Nyokabi question. Let me just respond to this and then you take it up. Nyokabi asks, can a woman get pregnant without the sperm from the men? And I will respond with a question. Can a woman have sex, number one, without wanting to be pregnant? And number two, can a woman have sex wanting to be pregnant? And vice versa to the man. Because we are not disputing that it's the man's sperm that fertilizes the woman's egg to produce the pregnancy. That is not in contention. That is basic. The argument here is one party is in it for recreational purposes, to have fun. The other party might want or not want a child. And this is where I said we need to be real. We need to come back to reality. I find the question of can a woman get pregnant by herself very pedestrian, because we know definitely it can. Yeah. But then every other day we see pregnancies that mwanaume anaruka futi 10. So do we say, and we also see every other day a man has clearly stated, I do not want a child, I am not ready, but the woman will go ahead, some intentionally, to get pregnant. There are real cases. So we can't start the argument of can a woman alone have a baby? That one I find lapana.
No, James, here we also need to highlight that a woman can get pregnant without engaging in sexual intercourse. That should also be highlighted. Okay? So when you say it's pedestrian, I don't totally see where you're coming from. But we forgive you for saying that. We forgive you for saying that. So James, just as you say, we always find it easy. Men always find their way out to always run away from the truth. And as far as we continue running away from the truth, Ellie, that it takes two. Men should man up and we start taking the responsibility. Because I said earlier, this is a process. You don't just wake up and you engage. It starts by you conceptualize the idea. It goes into a process until you engage into it. There are very many things involved. If you don't want, you can stop. Don't seek to be involved, yet you are not able to take care of the consequences. That is irresponsibility. We should just term it as it is, irresponsibility.
Ellie, let me. I don't know where these people live. Yeah, let me ask Gilbert.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of instances where a woman has intentionally gotten pregnant to entrap a man? Just a yes or a no.
Yes, I have heard.
Thank you. Now, have you? My second question: does it mean that every time a couple has sex, it is a 50? If they do not use protection, they leave it to fate. Every time they have sex, they leave it to fate, and akikuja ni sawa tu, asipokuja ni sawa tu.
But we don't leave it to fate, James, in these times of knowledge. We don't leave it to fate. You know very well, this is a cycle. You will not get pregnant by virtue of just engaging or having sex. There is time, particular time of the month, when you will. You know very well, if you've been with this person or it's the first time you're meeting, as a man, the same is a responsibility. Failure to know doesn't mean that we should excuse you for not having known. You know very well, women have a cycle, which is, I don't know the days, they should tell us. But there is that particular
we will find out about that. Gentlemen, let's take a break, please. Let's take a break. You guys need a breather. As I said earlier, we have a lady guest who would love to give her perspective on this discussion. So let's take a break. When we come back, let's go to the comment section and invite our guests. Yes.
No, before the break.
Quick one. Yes.
Earlier I had not finished my point, but anyway.
Okay, a quick one on that. Just clear your point before we go off.
I was saying very, very clearly, Ellie, we know women have a cycle. That there is days in a month where why can't you just care to ask, to know, so that by the time you're engaging in something that you know. Don't go there saying I didn't know. It's your time of the month.
Where would the lady consent if she knows? Because I assume the lady would definitely know without even asking. So you're passing the blame to the man to ask, well, the woman already knows.
James, you said very clearly you are assuming.
James
Assumption,
and Gilbert, we
assumption
must take a break. In law. We will come back and continue on this discussion. hope you are having good evening because I am, as we discuss matters, who is actually responsible for unwanted pregnancy? Who should take the hit when that happens? And I am here with the gentleman, that is Gilbert Makomere and James Mwathi. Before we left, they were all in disagreement over some issues, and equally, the audience is disagreeing so much in the comment section. Let's see who is saying what before we get to it. And I know Nyokabi tonight is really having a field day answering all the questions there. Thank you so much, Nyokabi, for being in the guest list as you entertain us in the comment section. Okay, fine. Let's just go a little bit to the earlier one. You are both responsible if you, I think I actually looked at this one earlier on. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Jane. Let's see. Okay, fine. Let's start again from Nyokabi, who says, if you're having sex with someone without protection, both of you are ready to get pregnant. It's not rocket science. And the gentleman said nothing. Okay, fine. And Victoria goes ahead and agrees with that statement. Let's see what the Trapster says. I agree with our good gentleman. Both a man and a woman are responsible since they are the ones who start the process. If it's blaming, then they should both be blamed for the pregnancy. And I am happy that actually gentlemen are having this discussion. We have Gilbert. You mean every time you do sex or have sex, you want to have a child? Or what's your argument? I don't understand you, sir. That one you'll have to answer next time you tell us how many children you've made so far as we continue discussing these matters. Okay, fine. We have Nyokabi who says again, do men know that women also don't want to have sex? It's not only the man who avoids pregnancy. Allah, this is new.
No, but Ellie, again, I think we had agreed from the word go that we are talking about two consenting adults. Yeah. So when the aspect of the woman did not want to have sex, that completely changes the ball game, in my opinion.
Good one. Let's see who else is saying. Gilbert, it is from day 10 to 16 days, depending on the cycle, either 28 or 35 days, like somebody announced recently. So you know. You
will cram this thing.
I wanted this stated clearly with the women so that James doesn't say, how did I get to know this?
I'll have forgotten by the end of this show.
Kindly take a screenshot.
Felipe Benovich says both genders should be held liable in the event there's a pregnancy. And of course, the conversation continues in the comment section. Now, for a moment, we've had men talking, and I'll come to our questions later on. But let's see what my guess is there, and I wish she can actually be ready for us, because I can see, Zena, you are not ready. There are some faces that are not supposed to be on camera because of age limit, so kindly fix that so that we can have you. Let's put it away for now. So there is something that they mentioned about protection. James, how many men go to a shop and confidently, that's a pharmacy, and confidently buy a condom, because that's what it is, to go use it when they are making love or making out with their partners?
Hear me very carefully, Ellie, because there is something that that I know for a fact, due to the practice that I engage in. Very, very many men will go to a shop or a pharmacy and buy condoms and actually use. That is not in dispute. Very many will use. Now, the question that begs is, for how long? For how long? Because the practice, the issue of practice is, as these two people start out, when they are still new to each other, they will be very cautious to protect each other, not only from pregnancy, but also from diseases. So in the initial days, they will actually use protection. And specifically, I'm talking about condoms because that's what you've asked. Yeah. But then now comes an interesting concept. After a few engagements, and I mean a few, one or both parties will decide we no longer need to use these things. We trust each other. They have not even gone for a test, but because they have engaged 2 or 3 times, now the aspect of we trust each other comes into play. And Ellie, I will tell you this without blinking an eye. It is not one man or or a few men who have told me. It is actually the lady who pulled it out. She said, "This thing can we just use without?" So if we are
And
talking
the common word, I'm sorry to cut you, James. The common misused phrase is Nikona reaction.
thank you. I react to latex. Yeah. So it is what I'm trying to say, Ellie, is initially we are both very careful, but along the way, one or both the parties will see no need for going on to use the condom. Yeah. Now that is the reality. So it begs again the question: when you both do away with the condom, and you're like James here, who is very poor in maths, so I can't remember whether it is day 28 or 35. Who should figure out how not to get pregnant? The how to get pregnant is the easy part. How not to get pregnant is the elephant in the room.
Let me bring in my guest. Of course, our guest in the men's den. For the first time, we have a lady. Of course, we have ladies sometimes sitting, thanks to Nyokabi Jike Kamau. But tonight we have a guest who is part of the audience and wants to give her mind into this discussion. Zena Hussein, kama unanisikia mami, hebu tueleze kwa haraka haraka, unafikiria ni jukumu la nani kuhakikisha kwamba tunazuia mimba ambazo hazijakubalika katika jamii? And we lost Zena, but I hope we can get her back. Nimemutisha. Fine, fair enough. I don't know what is happening there, but let's see. Zena, can you hear me? Okay. We seem to be having a connection issue with her. But Gilbert, James has already said what he had to say about that aspect of use of protection, and in this case, condoms. What is your take as a man? And I want us to be, as James said, blink no eye. How often will you use latex, for that matter, with a partner that you have consensual sex and regular, for that matter, with them? In the name of protecting a pregnancy. Sorry, let me be clear about
that. Ellie, as I said, to consenting, you know what you're doing. Discuss and agree on the way forward. Because when it happens and you're not ready, you can imagine. For me, I look at the sufferer here, who is the kid who is born without the father being present. That's my problem. Simply because people failed to do an honorable thing, what they are supposed to do. Like any other, this is like business, man. What are the rules of engagement? When should we disengage or when should we engage? We sit down and agree on it. What if after 2 days we get tired? What if? Because Ellie, these things are in people's mind, but they don't want to they don't want to put them on the table and discuss. What if I get pregnant after a month of being with you? You know, these are the things we fail to discuss because we are somehow like surrounded with what we call love until we blind our eyes from seeing reality. Up to that point, when you are told, man, you know what? It's now like a month and I have not seen. And you're like, what? You pretend like you don't know what you're being told. You know, that pretense and assumption is what I say. Assumption is not taken in law. If you know you can get yourself in any consequences that you're not ready for, discuss, man. Let's have a clean sheet and agree, man. This is what we are adults. Two consenting ones. What you are doing can lead us to. Don't even say about a protection. Condoms burst, man. They burst, and eventualities
How do
can
they
happen.
burst in the first place? That means you've been misusing them.
That is not the point. The point is it can burst. So the probability of it bursting is what we should discuss, because it can burst, and of course we have eventuality. So eventuality here, Ellie, what you are saying is the kid. The kid might be the result of this process. Why are we guys afraid to discuss this thing?
Because, as Sarah and Jonja puts it, sex is not only for procreation. So clearly, as we figure out how life is going to happen after we've laid out offsprings, clearly, for those of you who are very biblical and religious for that matter, you are told that it's supposed to be an enjoyment within a matrimonial preset. However, the likes of James and Gilbert tend to think the only thing that comes out is it's children. James, you
Let
have
me
a
respond.
different mind.
No,
Yeah, let me
Ellie, James, before you come in, please. We assume so because that is the only consequences that comes out of this process that brings contention. Most probably. There are also diseases. Why are we not forgetting that?
We will get to that, sir.
Yeah, we engage in unprotected sex. You might end up getting sexually transmitted disease, which is dangerous to us. But people fear what can come out as evidence. They don't even fear AIDS. They fear that one that will be seen. And you being known that Haley was the one walking around this house
No,
for
I don't walk around. I do not walk around. I go for the bullseye. Go ahead, James.
I once saw a couple. Let me give you a 10-second story. I once saw a couple, and the wife was complaining that my husband does not love me enough because he does not tell me every morning that I love him. He does not buy me flowers and chocolates anymore. His attention seems to have shifted as opposed to when we first got engaged. And the husband was perplexed. The husband couldn't understand where the wife was coming from. It was in his mind. And he told the wife, I told you when I was engaging you, I told you that I love you. The day anything will change, I will tell you that I. So until I tell you I no longer love you, whatever I told you initially holds. Why am I saying this? Why am I bringing this story? My good friend Gilbert, I don't know. I've tried to understand where he's coming from, and it seems like this sexual activity is being engaged in as a contract. Does it mean that every time before we engage in sex, we sit and ask, well, leo ukoaje? Do you want children? If this happens, what happens? Do you, or do we go with what was initially discussed on day one, that I am not ready? The day I'm ready, I'll tell you. Yeah. What if along the way one party changes their mind? Yeah. What about if we need to discuss every other time? What of those loose moments when sex was not planned, but it happens because we know it does? Yeah. So I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around how you would have this agreement every other time before you have sex. Having said that, just hold on. Having said that, let me again populate this conversation. I don't know if you've come across these cases, but I have. Two consenting adults engage in sex. They both did not want a pregnancy. a pregnancy occurs, they both agree on terminating. So what do we say there? The lady is saying, I can't keep this pregnancy. The gentleman is saying, I am not ready. So they come together and say, we will procure termination. Now, I bring this up because, again, when we come to termination, it is an illegal. Number one, it is already illegal specifically in Kenya. But we know it happens every other day. When we are procuring termination, whose life are we putting on danger? Is it the man's? I think that's where I'll pause from.
Interesting. Let me just see if I can get Zena. And there's a gentleman called Eagles Interior who would love to be part of the conversation. If you would love to be part of the conversation, send me a direct message, or equally look out for Victoria and Katha, then we'll send you the link and we'll be able to help you out. So do that. Yeah. And let's see, Zena. Zena, can you hear us?
Yeah, nasikia mambo.
Poa sana. Hebu tuambie mami.
Unajua kuna nini? Unajua mnapojipanga, mnapoingia kwenye mahusiano kuna tofauti. Na pale mnapoingia kwenye mahusiano,
naomba mtoe mtoto kwenye televisheni, maana haikubaliki. Naomba mtoe mtoto kwenye working from home literally.
Unaona vile mambo yako, unaona unapoingia kwenye mahusiano kama niongee kwanza upande wa wanawake. Unapoingia kwenye mahusiano ni lazima uangalie kwanza huyu mwanamume anataka nini kutoka kwangu. Huyu mwanamume ana nia gani kabisa, haswa ana nia gani? Kwa sababu unajua unaweza ukaingia kwenye mahusiano na pale unapoingia kwenye yale mahusiano pale, umeingia pale kwenye mahusiano ukajitwika mzigo wote pale ndani, hujui kwamba huyu mwanaume anataka mtoto, ama huyu mwanaume anataka kufanya nini, kuhave fun, ama huyu mwanaume anataka tu nini, ndoa ama mambo mengine. Lazima ujiulize mambo matatu kwanza. Ukishajiuliza yote matatu hayo, muulize unatakaje. Akikwambia anachokitaka, basi hapo utafanya nini? Unaangalia the way forward. But wanawake wengi siku hizi wameona kumpini mwanaume chini na mimba ndo mpango mzima. Hapana. Huwezi jipeleka kwa mwanaume ukashika ujauzito eti ndo umfanye nini? Umshike yule mwanamume. Huwezi mshika, wallahi huwezi mshika. Manake mwanamume akikutaka vizuri, akitaka mtoto atakwambia nataka mtoto. Akitaka ndoa atakwambia nataka ndoa. Lakini hakuna vile ambapo kwamba utaingia kwenye mahusiano mwanamume amekwambia vizuri, mimi sioni future yangu na wewe. Mimi sioni ukifanya nini? Sioni tukienda nini mbele na wewe pala popote, sitaki mtoto, sitaki chochote. Then wewe mwenyewe unajifanya mwerevu, unajiweka kichwa mbaya nini na nini, unatoka unaenda unajishikisha mimba. Ukijishikisha mimba, wallahi kama ni mimi mwanamume, utalea mwenyewe mtoto. Lazima ulee mimba mwenyewe, ulee mtoto mwenyewe. Manake yule mwanamke mpumbavu ataambiwa hufai kufanya nini, kushika mimba sahi, lakini yeye mwenyewe atafanya nini? Atajijazia kwenye akili yake anataka kushika mimba. Ukishika mimba lea mwenyewe, usimlaumu mwanamume. Manake mzigo wa kujitakia mwenyewe umfanya nini, ubebe mwenyewe. Kitu chengine pia, unapoingia kwenye mahusiano mwanaume amekuambia direct kabisa nataka tufanye nini, yani tujipe tu raha. Mwanaume amejua anachokitaka, anataka raha peke yake. Hiyo burudani peke yake anafanya nini, anaitaka. Kama wewe ni mwanamke ambaye kwamba unajiamini, unajidhamini, unajua umuhimu wa mwili wako, utamwambia mwanamume mimi sikutaki, wewe endelea na mahusiano yako, pengine mimi tafuta njia nyingine, sio mimi. na kama mwenyewe pia unataka ile raha yako pia unataka kufanya nini, kumpa, mpe, lakini usifanye kiwe ndo kitega uchumi. Usifanye mimba iwe ni kitega uchumi. Ukishika mimba, jipange na mimba ya kwako, lea mimba ya kwako. Na upande mwingine kwa wanaume, wanaume mshajua kila kitu, unaona? Wanaume mshajua nini siku hizi wanawake wanafanya nini, wanatega wanaume kwa mimba. Ukishajua hayo maneno, mwanamume, kuna mipira, kuna dawa za wanaume za kupanga uzazi. Panga uzazi, jipange. Lakini bure usipojipanga, mwanamke atakufinya chini, atakufinyia chini, and believe me, huwezi mpeleka popote. Mtakuwa ni wewe na yeye, mtakuwa bumper to bumper, mtakuwa hivi, hakuna penye mtapelekana. Sasa ni nyinyi wenyewe nyote muelewane. It's either mtatupa hizo vitu nje ama mtatumia mpira.
Haya.
Na pia kuna wanawake wasema ati ilikuwa ni accident, I got this accidentally. Hakuna mimba ya accident. Mimba ya accident ni ya rape case peke yake. Kama ni rape case, hiyo ni accident. Lakini mimba zingine, mmetoka huko, mmevuana nguo wenyewe, mmefanya mambo yenu mkamaliza, lazima result zifanyeni zitoke. Hakuna utakavowasha moto, ubandike sufuria, alafu uketi hapo ufikirie nini sufuria itafanya nini, itabaki vile baridi. Lazima itashika moto hiyo sufuria, usipochunga itaungua, na inapoungua lazima ufanye nini, you take responsibility. Lazima utafute steel wool usugue.
Mafumbo
ya shangazi. Asante sana shangazi Hussein.
Natumai unaelewa Kiswahili.
Bwana, mimi nimekulia Kiswahili bwana, usinijaribu bwana.
Hamna mimba ya accident.
Hamna ajali.
Mimba zote upangwa apart from your rape. Yeah, so as we said, James, tulikuwa bado tunaendelea mimi na wewe. Vile Zena amesema, hakuna kitu cha kusema hapa ati I was not responsible. Niliuliza tukianza.
Gilbert, if you mind, Gilbert, Gilbert, kindly, as you take back the questions and the answers, there are some people who love to understand this in English. So just be responding to the same in English, kindly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. James, as you are saying, I asked whose egg is being carried in that room. As far as we like to deassociate ourselves from the results, we have discussed several topics behind here, where we've said we are raising a generation of men who are not responsible. These are responsible father passing irresponsibility to this kid. This kid is already predisposed with the gene of irresponsibility if it's there. So as they grow up in a society of irresponsibility because they only have a mother without a father, and asking their mom very many questions. Where did my father go to? Why is it that my father is not with you? What happened? And you know, as this kid continue being in the society, he or she hears very many things that they cannot conceptualize how to understand them. So they will bombard this question to their mom. Mom, I'm asking, why is it that am I a what? You know, for a lady, I know one thing that is daunting to them is when the kid asks you, am I the reason why you and dad are not together? Do you know how that statement kills women? We might pretend we don't know. That's why I said earlier, if you look at the consequences, you'll understand the need. And I didn't say every time you engage, you need to make rules. We have a constitution as a country. For posterity, we refer whenever need be, so that we don't operate in a state of lawlessness. So that we assume, like you said, I assume that you know. It's your days. Like a man, you are there, you've been with a woman, you have never taken interest to know her cycle. So for you, you are just like, what's the difference with these other animals which were never like given higher IQ? We are given this higher IQ so that we can reason, have the power of choice and self-control. If we can't do the three, then we are as well as animals. And that's why watatuita sisi ni mafisi. Kwani fisi ni binadamu? Hapana, ni mnyama.
Okay, Gilbert,
Yeah.
we cannot rule out everything that Zena said because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, James, but I totally agree with Gilbert in one end, and I equally buy into Zena's perspective on why women bear the biggest responsibility when it comes to pregnancy. How about you, sir?
You see, we have conveniently ignored the question that I asked last. Very convenient. And I will ask it again.
What's your question once again?
Two consenting adults have gone ahead and engaged in sex. The pregnancy has occurred. They both do not want the pregnancy.
James, to respond to that, as far as that does not agree with my faith as a Christian, but there is the sense of responsibility between the two people, because that process has been taken care of in the law of land in whichever place, and that's why it's acceptable when the two of them decide to. It's up to them. They decided. Don't think they just woke up and imagine or assume. They said at that point they will sit down to agree. Should we terminate or should we go ahead? Do you see some sense of responsibility? Because when they are discussing whether to terminate or not, they will come to an agreement whether to do it or not to do it. And the problem most of the time, James, the problem comes in when they don't agree and one wants to do it against the other. But when they agree, if there is a mishap,
you have run with my question and now you're answering what I've not asked.
No, I envisage what you are going to ask. If there is a problem,
that is the same as assuming.
No, that's why I was given high IQ. I can envisage and where you are headed with your discussion. If in case there is a problem, James, that will be, you see, it's a medical problem. Like you try to do the process and it backfired. You see, the intention was not to mess up the process. The intention was to. But in the case, something bad happens. We can't blame the decision of saying we do it.
Can I continue?
Continue, sir.
Again, the question is on the table is the same analogy. I'm still populating my analogy. The two agree to procure termination, and I'm using our current law and constitution that you have alluded to, that does not allow for termination of pregnancy. But we know for a fact that in this country, a lot of women are going through termination. Now, the risk factor, and this is where I was coming in, it is not a must that it will end up badly, but there is the probability that it would. Who carries the bigger risk? Is it the man? Is it the woman? I will not answer, seek an answer for that question, because we might just go on and on. But what Zena says is absolutely correct. Remember, I started by saying the ideal would be two consenting adults are responsible enough to understand that if we engage in sex, unprotected sex for that matter, there is a probability that a pregnancy might occur. That is the ideal. I said that is the ideal. We need to move from this high pedestal that we are living and come to the ground. Because even though we know the ideal, condoms burst, and Gilbert said about it, talked about it. So what happens if one party had already indicated that they do not want a pregnancy, and then a condom bursts? What happens? Do we say they did not take care of it? Do we say, I don't know. So there is the ideal, yes, but there is the real. And the question that I would pose again, because you see, it is easy for us to discuss this because it is not a personal issue. But when now it happens to you personally, when the pinch is directly to you, that is when now the pain comes. And that is when we start asking, should I have done this or should I have done the other? Yeah. So ultimately, we need to figure out who should take more care. We can sit here.
We have an intruder. We have an intruder.
What it is?
We have an intruder.
Itching.
Where is Nikata? Nikata, can you storm into this studio? We can't take this anymore.
If you're going to intrude the studio session, you better come in full light. We are not going to be a banana republic.
I am sleeping. Where is Nikata?
Calm down. Wakabi, calm down.
James,
calm down.
How could you?
Stop shouting. Calm down.
Yokabi, you decided to come in your full attire of Asira.
How could you, James? How could you? You have broken my heart. Where is Nikata? We are storming in this studio with Nikata. We are taking over this conversation. We are taking over.
Ellie, you need to tell us whether this show is the men's den or now it is.
I have no idea what is happening. We are under Sieke.
You are under siege. Where is Nikata? Nikata, bring yourself. We are taking over this show.
We can't say what is
when we decide to talk, the ladies interfere with our discussions.
The whole feminism issue.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Nyokabi. What is your complaint to this honorable sitting?
I have 3 comments. Then I am leaving the men's den. Comment number 1, contraceptives do fail. Condoms fail, coils fail, pills fail, and a woman ends up getting pregnant. Comment number 2, it is not always that every time that a woman is engaging in sexual activity. Hey, Nikata, God bless you, darling. Good to see you. No, it is not always.
I had to come for this one. You cannot be doing this. You cannot be saying such things. People.
We are not going to make this.
Oh, Jesus.
Can you control the noise?
No.
Ladies. Okay, fine.
No, wait.
For the sake. Oh no. Okay, fine. At least there's somebody who thinks about us. A real man is here.
Ellie, wait. Kwanza niko hapo kwa kujishikisha mimba. I am still there. Mali niliambia nimejishikisha mimba. That is why I still am. Continue. Thank you very much. James akasema ati Zena is right. Nimejishikisha mimba. I want to know how. I want to know the meaning of kujishikisha mimba. That is all I want to know. Please, I want to know that. Sorry. Continue your copy.
No, do you want a response to that?
Yes, I want to know.
Very many women will get pregnant so that they can reap, quote unquote, where they did not sow. Come back to earth, ladies. Come back to earth.
I'm saying less.
Ladies, for the sake of time and the fact that we would love to address all the comments that have been actually addressed in the comment section, why don't we go into them and answer some of them? And for the rest of that we cannot answer, just read them out, right?
Ellie, 90% of those comments are mine and your cabbies. We are here. Talk to us. Don't go around the corners. Talk to us. We are here.
Yeah. We have come.
Somebody like Wycliffe is very disappointed. Say, I'm lefting. You can't storm our bedroom. This is unacceptable. Take these chicks out of our den. I'm leaving. Ladies,
We are
men are not happy.
Nikata, let us storm out. The way we stormed in, we can equally storm out. Good night, gentlemen.
No, fine. For the sake of hearing your side of the story, because we've been talking as men, and equally, you have to give us some credit. The fact that we have addressed these things from a holistic approach. That is the fact. We haven't just pointed out, but there's one thing that stands out, ladies, is that from where I sit, a lady or a woman for that fact has a bigger responsibility when it comes to prevention of unwanted pregnancy. From where I sit, I did not speak on behalf of Gilbert, neither did I speak on behalf of James, and I'll lay out my facts. Yes, Nyokabi.
Eli, my friend, that is where the problem lies. The fact that men think it is the responsibility of the woman to prevent
I didn't
pregnancy.
say it is their responsibility. I said they have the highest.
They will hear what they want to hear. Stop trying. They will hear what they want to hear.
I am using my indoor voice. I am trying to be very calm when I am responding to this.
They will hear what they want to hear.
James,
It does not matter when this.
James, if you're having sexual intercourse, two consenting adults, like you kept on insisting, and you're having unprotected sex with this person once, twice, it doesn't matter. It takes just one to get pregnant. You're both responsible for that responsibility. Please own your balls and just take responsibility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nyokabe and Victoria and Kata for that matter. I know Zena is there. Unfortunately, we cannot have her on screen for obvious reasons. She's having a lot of interruption. But this is what I want to say for you that are here and the other ladies that are watching outside. It is not in my position to determine how this discussion goes or ends. But I think since you've decided to storm in, I will take my position as a man and as Ellie, not as the host. This is my thought again. At the end of the day, we can argue, and James likes this word, until son comes home, or whatever they say, or the chicken comes to roast. This is what you have to understand, Nyokabi and Victoria, and all the ladies that are watching out there. If you were to take 10 men, present them here tonight, present them with 10 ladies that are willing to have a romantic evening with them, and later on, have a sexual romantic evening. Take the man and ask them how many are willing to use condoms. Probably most of them will be willing. But if the woman in the discussion is okay not to, believe me, this son of Adam will consent.
But does it mean that you all can't make a decision for yourselves? If you're going to consent, no, wait, Ellie, let me ask you a question. Ellie. Is the woman now controlling how things are going to turn out for you? Surely you as a man, you can, as I equally can say, I do not want to have sexual intercourse without a condom because I don't want to get pregnant. You can equally say, as a man, I need to protect myself. I need to, because I don't want to be out here being called the deadbeat, being called the who was doing nini and what. Because how comfortable will a man be if you're going to now sleep with somebody's daughter? You're the one who's nutting and injecting inside, and then you make somebody's daughter pregnant, and then you say, by the way, she wanted.
And Kata, again, I gave you a scenario. I'm giving you the second scenario as to what led to this discussion in the first place. We have two adults that the man has specifically said, I have no intention of having children with you now or in the future. And number two, I do not intend in any way to settle down with you. So our engagement is purely sexual. I'm sorry, I have to call it as it is.
you will still nut inside.
Ellie,
You will still nut inside.
Ellie.
No, Kabi, and yes.
And I'm using my indoor voice again. If you don't want any future relationship with this lady, and if you don't want her to get pregnant, go put this thing where you would like to get pregnant. It's that simple. Stop pursuing.
And again, Kabi, yes,
We will
James.
go round and round. We will go round and round.
James, stop pursuing a woman and pursuing and asking for this conjugal rights and this intimacy when you don't want to take responsibility. Please, men, be with women who you're willing to take responsibility for, and leave those girls that you're just kulaying. Hakuna hoteli unakulanga bure. Ukikula lazima ulipe, my friend. So ukiona hiyo hoteli ishi hama uende Kempiski. Uko kwenye nafurahi, kwenye uko willing kulipa bill.
Okay, Ellie, again, we will go round and round. We will not come to a conclusion. These are one of those topics that we will never agree on, which is perfectly okay because we are wired differently. My comments would be, number one, as men, and I'm speaking purely as men, we will have multiple sex without the intention of either settling down with anyone or having kids with anyone. We have to be realistic. It is happening. Yeah. And again, somebody on the comment side said, sex is not purely for procreation. It is not a fact that every time we engage in sex, it is for procreation. So if I have told you I have no intention, let me finish. If I've told you I have no intention of getting a child, again, just the same way that Victoria is saying, as a man, you have the choice to rubber up or not. As a woman, as long as I'm clear, you have the same choice of saying, if you do not want to use a condom, if you do not want to use whatever means, then I am
coitus interruption or whatever they call it.
Exactly. Yeah. But then now my question was, again, and this is where I keep on coming back to, both are responsible. Who bears the more consequences? We have it boils down to that. I've never seen a man whose girlfriend is pregnant and it is the man who is eating soil. It has never happened. Yeah? So we can keep on here going round and round. Oh, it is the man, it is the woman. My question is simple. I have stated as a fact, I do not want. You can say I should wear a rubber, I should use what, I should, but it has not happened. All those shoulds have not happened. As a woman, number one, why are you agreeing to engage? Number two, who bears the most responsibility? It's that simple.
Ellie.
You know, we can. Sorry, Gilbert, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm taking over as part of the panel. Go ahead.
Or I've been left out of the show.
No, go ahead, sir.
I repeat and I repeat and I'll repeat. Let me say again. We assume women carry them, let me say, higher responsibilities because of evidence. There are other consequences that affect all you. As said, here, procreation is as a result of sex. It's not the process. You'll procreate after you have sex, not before. So we say, let's take care of the sex if you don't want to procreate. If you want to enjoy, no, very well. This is for enjoyment. What pertains enjoyment? Do what enjoyment pertains. Because if you go there and you don't want to procreate and you're having a kid in the name of enjoyment, then your priorities were wrong. And as I said, the reason why you are given high IQ is because we need to make decisions, have self-control. So if you can't have the two, then you are as well as the animal which have the lower. So don't blame anyone. Don't say the women carry the highest responsibility. Because to me, it's like, if that kid goes to the full process, 9 months, is brought into this world. Don't assume because you are not there and people don't know. For us, we say that based on what people will say and see. But on our own, how do you sit around imagining you have a kid somewhere whom you've denied? They are growing out without a father. And you think in your life, you raise a generation that will be straight. Oh no, it will not. At a certain point, these things will come back to eat you. What type of generation do you want? You know the aftermath. Me, I'm not just talking about what will be seen in 9 months. Even ladies will carry evidence for 9 months. And after 9 months, it's not now about the evidence that was carried. It's about now the kid that was brought here. It took 2 to tango. This kid belongs to 2. So this lady raising this kid who doesn't have the father, they are bearing the consequence. This man who is not responsible for the kid they are responsible for, they are not in their life. They are bearing consequences. It's only that the society has made us to believe that the woman who is bearing, like who has the kids and everything, is the one carrying the largest responsibility. James talked about ideal and the real. The ideal and the real sometimes differ. The real on the ground is the society has made us believe that the woman carries the biggest responsibility. But the ideal is all of us carry the responsibility, all of us suffer. We might assume within our system that you are not suffering, we are not going through what we should go through in terms of the consequences. But same as women, men go through shit. In sitting down and imagining your kid is somewhere. And the problem is when they have grown up and they are successful and you come back crouching and saying, oh, you know, I didn't know, I was foolish. Those are the excuses men will always give. I didn't know, I was not. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. We have had this conversation. James is very unhappy on the turn of events. I can tell from the look of his face, and he will hold his peace because time will not allow us. Ladies, you have come to overrun this show. I just want to tell you one thing. We will storm your show. Having said that, let's conclude on one thing. Thank you so much, Zena, for coming to the show, and we appreciate your contribution. Unfortunately, time is not on our end, and we must end this discussion. But let the discussion continue in the comment section. Continue feeding us more with what you would have loved to hear and listen from this. I know we didn't even cover about the infection side. We didn't cover about other consequences that come with it. But the main purpose of this show was to establish who bears the maximum responsibility. Like in any country, we can want to dispute this. We can go south, north, east, whatever. But at the end of the day, in any kind of act, there is always one that bears the highest responsibility. In this case,
Eli,
James asked us. Yes, Zena?
Eli, acha niambie wamama, usikubali
Okay,
mwanamume akulaze na hajakuoa. Don't do it. Don't eat that thing before marriage, please. Na ukikubali kukula, carry the responsibilities. Beba msalaba, lea mtoto wako kama kawaida. Mtoto alozaliwa nje ya ndoa, huyo mtoto ni responsibility ya mama. Wamama wabebe kila kitu. Na kama mwenzangu alivyosema hapo hivyo, mwanamke unaposhika mimba, wewe ndio unayekula udongo. Utaamka hata usiku uambie mume wako nitafutie mapera, fanya hivi na hivi na hivi. Utaenda kutafuta mapera miwa mwenyewe usiku saa 8 usiku. Sasa wanawake, acheni kufungua mguu kabla ya ndoa. Put it an end.
Twende home.
The show has been finished.
Sikia kidogo, dakika moja tu, 1 minute. Na kama nani alivyosema, Nyokabi alivyosema, eti mpira inapasuka, sijui dawa zinakataa kufanya kazi. Hatujakataa. Mpira ukipasuka na mlikuwa mmeelewana vizuri kabisa, hamtaki mimba, hamtaki nini, mmegundua mpira umepasuka, kuna kitu kinaitwa nini, P3 ama ni P2? P2, 150 shillings. Nunua meza. Msilete maneno mingi, sijui tufanya hii, sijui fanya hivi na hivi. Usifunge mwanamume kwa sababu ya mimba. Usifanye mimba iwe ni kitega uchumi. Each and everyone must take it. It's her responsibility.
You know what? We haven't concluded this. I'm sorry, but I must really end this show. We will do the second session next week due to public demand and all the comments that all of you have to say, including Victoria, who cannot believe what she's had tonight. And let's say this. because James already put it out there, at the end of the day, two consenting adults engage in a sexual relationship that leads to a pregnancy, and they consent to go out and procure a termination. Who bears the maximum damage? Probably you'll have the psychological as a man, but the damage that will be felt physically and even emotionally throughout your life is you that bears that act of termination. Having said that, thank you so much for coming to the show. I know we would have said and discussed much more, but then again, time is always the limiting factor.
Therapy.
Can we end this show by any chance? Can we end this show, please? Victoria and your team, take therapy. Gilbert, thank you so much for coming to the show. As always, James Mwati in the men's den, and everybody that contributed to the comment section. Asanteni sana. My name is Likuyani Eli. Until next week and tomorrow night with Nyokabi GK Kamau on the Wednesday edition, where we talk about relationships and much more. See you then. Have a good night. God, you guys are awesome.
Ulitizama kitanda changu kimejaa kunguni, godoro inchi mbili, ukasema wanipenda. Simu yangu masekete, nguo zangu matambara, viatu vilivyochapishwa viraka, ukasema wanipenda kutoka ndani ya roho. Tulipoenda bafuni nawe, sabuni ya kipande, uzini wa gunia, ukasema ujali, fanaka utoka kwa Mola. Sasa iweje leo hii nasikia fununu toka kwa rafiki zako kuwa wanipa talaka? Sasa iweje leo hii hadithi za kuaminika zaniambia mapenzi haya yamekuchosha? Sasa iweje leo hii naambiwa wasema umasikini wangu wewe umekuchosha? Ninachoomba baby, nipende nilivyo. Baby, nipende nilivyo. Zawadi ya fanaka hiyo kutoka kwa Mola, mafanikio kutoka kwa Mola. Baby, baby, ninachoomba mimi, nipende nilivyo. Baby, nipende nilivyo. Zawadi ya fanaka hiyo kutoka kwa Mola, mafanikio kutoka kwa Mola. Baby, 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 oh. Sipendelei nikikuona watembea miguu wakati wenzio wako kwenye magari ya kifahari. Oh baby, mimi sipendelei. Unapokula sukuma siku 7 za wiki wakati wenzio wanajiburudisha na minofu kwenye mahoteli pia sipendelei. Ninakiri ni uwezo sina, nipende nilivyo. Baby, nipende nilivyo. Eshujira zawadi ya fanaka hiyo toka kwa Mola, mafanikio toka kwa Mola. Baby, 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 nina ninachoomba, nipende nilivyo. Baby nipende mimi nilivyo. Zawadi ya fanaka hiyo kutoka kwa Mola, mafanikio toka kwa Mola. Baby, 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 ninachoomba